Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, for those of you who don't know, Sam Zell, who's one of the largest real estate owners, I think he has a lot of mobile home parks. He passed away recently, and I actually read his book about maybe a year ago. His book is called Sam Zell, Am I Being Too Subtle? I can put a link of the book down below, but I kind of want to talk about some key points that I learned from the book when reading it, and hopefully you'll find value from this. So, at a high level, basically, his key first lesson was if you love what you do, you are more likely to succeed. So, people often asked him, hey, when are you going to retire? He basically worked until he passed at 81. And his answer was always, retire from what? Like, I've never been working a day in my life. Everything that I've done is because I love doing it and it's because it's enthralling. So what I kind of take from that is when you're doing something and you can do it for a long time, it should feel very light. If something feels very heavy to you and you don't want to do it or there's any like negative connotation around it, it's probably an indication it's not right for you. But if it feels very light, if it feels very easy, it feels very natural, you actually look forward to waking up doing it every day, that's probably a good indication that that's what you like to do. So for me, obviously I have my day job as a pharmacy director. I do a lot of real estate investing, but ultimately, to me, what feels the most light, feels the most natural, and doesn't suck energy out of me, but actually gives me energy is actually teaching people. And that's why I learned to be my passion. And because I learned a lot in pharmacy, I can teach about pharmacy. Because I learned a lot about real estate, I can teach about real estate. That's what kind of led me to create my YouTube channel, as well as creating my Making Multifamily Money Mentorship, which is a real estate investing course. So if you're interested below, you can check out the link down below. I actually have a 1 month trial at a reduced cost, and then you can try it for a month. And if you want to upgrade to lifetime access, then you can upgrade to the bronze plan. So once again, check out the link down below. So for kind of back to the point, if you do something that you like, then you can do it for a long time. If you're able to do something for a long time, that is when compounding works in your favor and time starts to become an asset, right? An example is if you slowly buy real estate and you actually enjoy the process of buying real estate, and you can do that over 30, 40, 50 years, there's no way in my mind that you would not be successful from doing real estate. It may take you, 30 years to get there. It may take some of you 20 years, some of you 10 years, but regardless, if you keep doing it and you actually like doing it, that's how you be successful. Same thing with, YouTube, podcasts, and education. Like I actually love doing it. I can see myself doing it for the rest of my life. So it's only a matter of time before, this YouTube channel becomes successful, all that. It's just a matter of having time on your side and compounding that effort time over time again. Like for those of you who don't know, my goal was to hit Fat Fire with around 20K a month in passive income. That was always my goal before I would leave my day job. But, even once you leave your day job, you still need to do something that feels fulfilling to you, that feels light. Like if I were to replace my day job with, let's just say I was a huge property manager, that wouldn't be enjoyable to me. That'd feel very heavy. Or maybe I left and want to run another type of business. Once again, that's another heavy thing that I wouldn't want to do. But if it's leaving my day job to just, educate people, surround myself with people, and want to grow with others, I think to me that feels very light, feels very rewarding. So I can do that probably for the rest of my life as of right now. So that's the first key point that I learned. The second key point is if you want to start a business. So currently for me, that's not something I'm interested in right now. But if you do start a business, you have to find the right co-founder, and the co-founder must typically complement your skill set. So let's just say you're good at marketing, you're good at big picture, then you're going to probably need an operator. If you're a really good operator and good at the day-to-day task, then at that point you need to probably find a visionary. So that's kind of the key concept of finding the right co-founder. And unfortunately, it takes going through multiple co-founders, multiple partners, multiple CEOs until you figure out what one is best, works best for you. So that's kind of a key lesson that I learned from that one. The third point is grit is critical to be a successful entrepreneur. So this is what was quoted by Sam Zell. And basically, when you're being an entrepreneur, when you're trying to create something, you're trying to build your own business, you're going to experience many highs and many lows. And to get through it all, you need to be tenacious and have a lot of grit. So I'm currently going through that right now. For those of you who don't know, I bought 80 units of real estate in 8 months. I have a video talking about my journey in regards to that. But oh my God, like I went through the high, right? When I was buying all this real estate, I was on the top of the mountain, right? I was buying deal, got a 26 unit, got a mobile home park, got a 20 unit, and I was on that high. But I would say, to be honest, now it's kind of a low because all the stress is catching up to me now. My 26 unit, I'm renovating it. My mobile home park, I'm renovating it. My 20 unit has a hard money loan on it, and I'm renovating it. And the hard money loan is uh, being called due soon. So now I'm working with multiple lenders to try to get it refinanced. And given this current interest rate market and the real estate market, it's very uncertain. So it's a lot more challenging to qualify for loans and to get banks to approve it. So I have to be very tenacious in reaching out to 10, 20, 30 lenders, telling the story, pitching my property until one says yes. So once again, I have a video talking about my 20 unit apartment complex. Now on top of that, I'm in the process of selling my mobile home park, and that is filled of ups and downs as well, right? Like you get offers and then buyers back out, you get offers, buyers back out. It's just very high, very low. So basically, you need to be very tenacious, have that grit, but also take care of your mindset. Like for me, I've been trying to not get too high, not get too low. So to not get too high, if I do something successful, let's just say I got my loan approved to cash out refinance my 20 unit, I'm trying not to get too high. And then for my mobile home park, during the sale process, if there's any bumps along the road, I'm not trying to get not too low. So how do I do that? And to be honest, you have to exercise, very regularly, very frequently. Like I'm exercising 3 times a week. I'm trying to increase that to almost 5 to 7 times a week, almost every day. You have to have a good diet. Like you have to eat clean. Like, I can't eat fast food anymore. I can't eat McDonald's. I can't eat Taco Bell. After I eat that, I feel groggy now that I'm in my 30s. So you got to eat clean. I don't want to overeat anymore. Before I used to love going to all you can eat buffets and stuff myself and be in a food coma for 3 hours. Now I just don't enjoy that. I just eat until I'm satiated. You have to drink water. Make sure you're adequately hydrated. You have to take your supplements, vitamins, because we don't have a well balanced diet. You have to eat fruits. You have to do whatever you can to keep your mind right. I significantly cut out, alcohol, and drinking alcohol. So, because that makes me groggy the next day. If I drink too much and I'm feeling hungover, I feel sluggish and I'm not productive. So, you have to make sure your mind's right. Exercise, for me, going to like a steam room sauna really helps level my mind when I'm stressed. And it's just kind of focusing on gratitude. So you really have to keep your mindset correct if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. So moving on to the next point, um, is basically keep doing what works. So if you are highly successful, let me take a step back. So keep doing what works. So what actually got Sam Zell started was he actually started managing student housing when he was at the University of Michigan. And what he did was he just managed one apartment complex, and the guy that he was managing it for bought another apartment complex. So then Sam was then managing that apartment complex, and by the time he graduated college, he was managing, I think, 100 units. And from doing this property management, he just said, "Hey, like I know I should be buying an apartment complex for myself." So that's what he started doing. He started to raise money. He had exposure to property management. He knows what it's like to be a good property manager. So now he started buying apartment complexes and raising money. Eventually, he progressed into buying mobile homes. He's one of the largest operators of mobile homes. He then diversified into office building real estate, commercial real estate. That's triple net. And for him, real estate was just working, so he kept on doing it. And I'm kind of learning the same thing as well. Like for me, I started off in single family homes. I went into apartment complexes in Oklahoma City, and then I kind of deviated a little bit to mobile home parks. And that's what ultimately led me to selling a mobile home park is, what, to be honest, my best track record is with single family homes. I can keep on doing that. My best track record is small apartment complexes in Oklahoma City. So I'm just going to double down on both of those asset classes. So kind of the odd person out would be my mobile home park. Like, okay, I can be okay at mobile home parks, but right now it just makes more sense to keep doing what works, right? I have a system in place for single family homes in California. I have a system in place for small apartment complexes in Oklahoma. So why would I not double down on both of these instead of trying to do three things? Add a mobile home park in the mix, and when you're juggling three balls, you're going to drop some, right? And that's what I experienced. That's what led me to selling my mobile home park. But I'm just gonna keep on doing what works, right? So I'm good at buying single family homes in California, where I live in for a year. When I live in it, I house hack it, and after a year, I move out and repeat the process and rent out the prior house. I'm great at doing that, and I'm great at doing value add small apartment complex in Oklahoma, where I'm gonna do, buy the apartment complex, do renovations, force the value to go up by increasing rents, and then do a cash out refinance and just repeat that process over and over. Like I know the Oklahoma market very well because I've been there for 2 years and I'm doing deals there. So I know I have a property manager there, I have a general contractor there, I know the rents there, I know what area is good or bad, I know kind of what the cost per unit is. So like once I know that, like why would I deviate from this market? Like I should just keep doing what works. So that message really hit home for me as well. Um, and then another lesson from Sam Zell is always assess your downside. So this is how billionaires think. And I have a video talking about how to find deals that have asymmetrical risk and reward profiles. So, what does that mean by assessing your downside? So, for example, a lot of investors, including myself, we look at the upside. Like, hey, I can buy this 26 unit apartment complex. I'm buying it for $500,000 and to be worth $1.5 million. So, that's the upside, right? But what's the worst case scenario? That's where you need to be focused on to keep your wealth, because you should only need to build your wealth one time. At that point, it's just maintaining that wealth and slowly building it up, right? You never want to go back to zero. You never want to go back to bankruptcy. So that's why you always need to look at the downside versus the upside. So, for example, on my 26 unit apartment complex, I bought it for $500,000. I'm putting in $250,000 worth of renovation. And when I bought it, day one, it was worth $750,000 equity day one without any renovations. So that's my downside, right? So I bought it for $500,000. I'm putting in $250,000 of renovation. I'm all in for $750,000. And if my worst case scenario is I can sell it for $750,000, I'm breaking even. I get my money back. I get my renovation costs back. I get my down payment back. You do have to pay all those, fees, which takes off 10% of the purchase price. But even then, if let's just say worst case, I put in $250,000 worth of renovation, and I lose, maybe $60,000 on the deal, that's not make or break for me, right? But in reality, I bought it for $500,000, putting in 250. It already appraised at 750 without any renovation. So with some renovation, let's just say it's worth 800 or 850. At that point, I would get all my money back. So my downside is 850, but my upside is 1.5 million. So in that case, that's a good deal, right? Like I won't lose on the deal, So that's the way you assess risk, right? Versus let's just say a deal is I buy, a deal for $1 million. The upside's 1.3 million, but the downside is if you were to do it wrong, it's only worth half a million. At that point, it's not worth it. It's not a good deal. So I think a lot of people, and myself included, especially when I was buying my 80 units 8 months, I was just so focused on the upside. I never looked at the downside, right? So now when I buy real estate, I look, okay, what's my worst case scenario? If this deal flopped, it didn't go as planned, I need to sell it. Like how much money would I lose, if any? If I don't lose any money, that's a good deal, right? There's basically no downside. If I lose, let's just say 100,000, can I take $100,000 hit? Right now, I probably couldn't, right? But if my mobile home park was sold, maybe I could. So you always have to assess your downside based on your current situation and look at that. So that was just really key to me is I always, and everyone is so focused on the upside, but you have to look at the downside too. And sometimes the downside is more important, especially value add real estate. Like what's your worst case, right? What's your worst case? Like my 20 unit, I bought for 350. I put in 120 renovations worth 470. Could I sell this for 470? Probably could, right? So break even is my downside. So that's how you got to do it, right? So the way to minimize your downside of real estate is you want to buy right with equity day one and have the ability to renovate it, force the value to go up by raising the rents. If you do that, you'll be safe regardless of what the interest rates are, right? So that advice is relevant in all times of interest rates. So the next key lesson that Sam Zell gave was do yourself first, then delegate. And I'm really big on this one. Like I'm really big on this one. Is do yourself first, then delegate, because how can you trust, like for example, property management, right? Like I wasn't a property manager per se, but when I was house hacking real estate, I would rent out those rooms by myself. So because of that, I was a little bit, property management, not to the scale of like actual, day full-time job as a property manager, but I had some exposure, right? Like how do I screen the tenants? How do I market these um, rooms to rent? How do I collect rents? Like, how do I respond to the tenants in a timely manner? How do I resolve issues amongst the tenants in the actual house? Like, so it kind of taught me to be more systems oriented, and it kind of helped me, I make little falls and mistakes here and there. And from that, I learned to the point where now I can at least know what a property manager for my apartment complex is doing at a high level, and I can give them advice. So an example is my property manager. I just said, hey, I recommend you use Facebook Marketplace to advertise these units in my 20 unit apartment complex. And the property manager said, oh, I've never done that. I said, yeah, it's like the new Craigslist. So the moment that she started advertising on Facebook Marketplace, she was like, wow, Steven, you're right. Like I'm getting so many people reaching out. We're getting a lot of applications. And that's how I was able to rent out so many units in my 20 unit apartment complex. And that was very key because it's on a hard money loan. So if it's on a hard money loan, time's working against you, so you got to rent these out as fast as possible. So I would have not known to recommend Facebook Marketplace unless I did it myself first, then I delegated. I take the same strategy as a pharmacy director, right? So I start off as a pharmacist, and I do things first, and then now that I know it, I can delegate, right? So I always do it first, then I delegate. It's easy for me to teach and understand it and improve it once I've done it. So that's very key, right? That's why I said another video that should be coming out is do not invest in things that you do not know. Like if you don't know it, don't do it because you have no way of verifying the person that you're partnering with or working with does it yourself. And that's why I said once again, like, for those of you who want to invest passively in syndicators, there's still value in buying my real estate course and joining my real estate mentorship is because worst case, you can at least have the knowledge to vet the syndicator to see if what they're doing makes sense, right? Like for me, I'm doing deals myself. So if I were to invest in a mobile home park syndicator, because I own a mobile home park myself, I know how to vet them and know what works. Same with apartments. I invest in apartments myself, so I know how to vet apartment syndicators down the road because I've done it myself, right? I wouldn't be able to do that unless I did it myself. That's why I always advocate, even if you don't want to do it yourself, I get it. It's not for everybody, but at least get yourself educated. Check out the link down below, and then you can try a 1 month trial of the course. And if you like it, you can buy the lifetime access to it, right? So you can dip your toes in, minimal risk. Then there's a lot of upside, and you can verify if your syndicator, what they're telling you is great. Because syndicators always tell you what's the upside. They never talk about the downside. So very key, do yourself first and delegate. I've done it personally. The next one is have a strong vision of the future. So you have to set big dreams and lofty goals. So I used to think this way, to be honest, but as of late, I kind of changed my goals into 6 month segments now because when I had too big of a vision in the future, or if I set like deadlines, like in 5 years, I want to make 220K a month in passive income. And if I'm at, let's say like 5K a month in passive income or 10K in passive income, I never viewed it positively because I was just thinking, well, if I had 10K, but my goal is 20K, I'm 10K behind versus focusing on, hey, look it, I built up 10K passive income. So I just noticed that for me personally, if I set my retirement age at 35 with 20K a month in passive income, I'm currently 33, so I have 2 more years to hit this goal. But it wasn't making me happy because, like, number one, it was putting me under a lot of pressure for no reason. Number two is you have to enjoy the journey and not the results. So while it is nice to have a strong vision for the future, you have to really like the journey. Like, do I like the process of accumulating real estate slowly? I think I do if I do it slowly. Like I wouldn't buy 80 units 8 months again, right? I was a little bit too fast, a little bit too rapid. Unless it's one 80 unit apartment complex, in that case, it's a little bit easier. But like buy three separate deals in 8 months, I would not do that again. And for me, it's like, okay, like, do I even need 20K a month in passive income? Like, I just kind of set that number arbitrarily. Like, do I actually need that? Like, honestly, if I'm making like close to 10,000 a month in passive income, like that's enough to basically live a very comfortable life. I live very humbly. So for me, I think in 6 month goals because I don't really know what I want yet, right? Like, yes, it sounds nice to say 20K a month of passive income by 35, but maybe in 2 years, I may not want that anymore. Maybe I would like to continue working, right? So I don't want to set too far in advance, but you still want some goals to keep you accountable and to strive towards something. So, I know a lot of people, a lot of YouTubers, a lot of influencers are really big on a big vision. Like, I want to own $1 billion asset management as a syndicator. Sounds cool to say in social media, but do you really want to do that? Do you even know what it entails? For me, I don't know yet, so I can't say that. So for me, I'm just living in 6 month increments. And right now, my 6 month goal is basically, make sure my 20 unit gets out of that hard money loan. Ideally sell my mobile home park and then, keep on renovating my 26 unit to progress it along. So that's my 6 month goal. I want to keep it simple. Don't want to look too far ahead. But I do know that eventually I want my vision is to basically have the option to work my W-2 job, my pharmacy job. Like it's just optional for me. And at that point, I can reassess if I want to continue working because I want to, or if I don't like my job anymore, then I just can leave. Right. So that's my goal at the end of the day. Um, let's see here. When buying a company, focus on limiting waste versus growth. So, once again, what I like about this is you basically, a lot of people when they do business, they focus on growth. Like I bought my mobile home park, my real estate, all that. I'll still focus on growth, but I never really, because I'll still focus on growth, I never looked at eliminating waste, right? So there's a lot of like subscriptions that I had that I didn't need. I was spending money unnecessarily on things. Like if you're trying to like scale, like for example, with YouTube, I don't even edit any of my videos because I don't want to, have that overhead burden of paying an editor. I don't want to edit myself. I don't have time, but I don't want that burden of paying an editor. That's additional overhead cost, right? That's why YouTube and social media is amazing. Like you can basically get started, very little money out of pocket. All you need to do is spend your time to record videos and upload it onto YouTube. So it's not as much effort, and most of the time with YouTube spent editing. Since I don't edit, then at that point I can spend more time and energy creating videos, which I actually enjoy doing. I don't really care for editing. Maybe down the road I can outsource to an editor, but it only makes sense once this channel starts to make money and I can use that money to pay for an editor. So that's the choice I'm making right now. But maybe later down the road as it grows, I may change my mind. But I want to make sure that you eliminate waste, right? And for me, eliminating waste is keeping that overhead expense as low as possible, so that if you fall, you're not in the hole big, right? So a lot of companies are focused on growth, but they don't focus on eliminating waste. So his next topic, which is near and dear to my heart, is real estate. So basically, this statement hit me home. He says, "I always believe that every day you are choosing to hold an asset, you're also choosing to buy it." So like I'm a buy and hold real estate investor for the most part. In the process of selling my mobile home park right now, but that hit home to me because every day that I keep my single family homes in California, I'm choosing to buy it again. Every day I choose to hold my apartment complexes, I'm choosing to buy it again. Right? So every day you're making a decision. Do I keep this? If you're keeping it, you're choosing to buying it. If not, then you're selling it. The next one is the most reliable measure of a building's value is replacement cost. This one hit home to me as well. So replacement cost is if this whole building burned to the ground today, how much is it going to cost to build it to 2023 standards? That is replacement cost insurance. And why that's key is because replacement cost insurance determines the price of future competition. So let me give you an example. So let's just say I have my 20 unit apartment complex. It was built in the 1970s. So it was built 50 years ago. C-class uh, apartment complex, right? This is your typical C-class value-add apartment complex. So I bought it for $350,000 for 20 units. So that's about 18K per door. But can you build a 20 unit apartment complex at 18K per door at 2023 standards? And the answer is no. So if some person built a 20 unit apartment complex right next to mine in an empty lot, it's not going to cost them 18K per door to build it. It's probably going to cost them maybe let's just say 80K per door for this example, right? And that's my margin. So I'm buying it 18K. Let's just make it 20K per door, and the cost to build it is 80K per door. So that's a 60K per door margin that I have, right? So if I can renovate it for 10K per door, so I'm all in for 30K per door, it's still 50K less than 80K per door, which is a brand new apartment complex. So if you buy on that margin and you assess their real estate, that is how you buy deals, right? And that's what I do. Like I bought my 20 unit at 18K per door. I'm putting in 5 to 10K per door, depending on the renovation. So let's just make it 10K for simple math. That's 28K per door. And, it could be worth around maybe, 35K to 40K per door. And to build it brand new, it's 80K per door. So that is definitely your margin. So that's how you think about real estate. That's why I like buying existing real estate versus doing development. So when you're doing development from the ground up, it's a lot more work. You're not getting any cash flow because there's no tenants renting it. And then there's a lot of permit issues, a lot of delays, right? But if you can do it, you can make a lot of money, but it's a lot of time, right? Versus replacement, if you're buying an existing property that has tenants in there that's paying you rent, then you're renovating these units slowly and bringing it up to, modern day modern day look, modern day standard, new kitchen, new flooring, new bathroom. You're still getting paid rent and you're still buying cheaper than replacement costs. So as long as you're buying cheaper than replacement costs, you can't lose. So I really like that simplistic mindset in buying real estate. Like, hey, you know what? I'm buying this real estate. It's not cash flowing day one, but is it cheaper than building it brand new? If the answer is yes, there's great margin. It's still a good deal, right? So that's how I look at real estate. Like that's why I'm punching myself because I turned down some deals where I got offered small apartment complexes in Oklahoma City at 33K per door, and I said no because I bought mine at like 18K per door. I was like, I don't want to pay 33 when I bought for 18. But even back then, renovated value was around 55K per door. And to rebuild it brand new, A-class apartment, Oklahoma City, it's probably gonna be 100K per door. So even at 33K per door, I'm putting in 10K to fix it up, all in for 43K, and its replacement cost is 100K per door. That's a great margin. Like I wish I bought those deals, right? I should have went down on those deals, but instead I was distracted with my shiny object syndrome with my mobile home park. So really love that mindset. So what Sam Zell did was he bought high quality office buildings, which we bought at a significant discount to replacement costs. So I'm doing the same thing for, even my mobile home park. I bought it for about $5,000 per pad. And to build a brand new mobile home pad in Alabama, it's like about 30K per pad. So I bought it at 5K per pad, but to build it brand new, it's 30K per pad. So I have a 25K per pad margin. So it's cheaper than developing a mobile home park or adding additional lots versus using the existing lots I already have, right? So that's how I did. I bought it under a margin. And then the other thing that Sam Zell said was, we believe that real money in real estate came from borrowing long-term fixed rate debt in an inflationary scenario that ultimately depreciate the value of the loan and increase the position of the borrower. So, I love this statement. It's very prevalent today, right? So I locked in a 2.7% interest rate on a single family home that I bought in California back in 2021 during COVID when interest rates were very low. So I locked in a 2.7% interest rate, and inflation, especially right now, it's very high. It's going to be higher than 2.7%. So if you think about it, let's just say inflation, for the sake of this example, is 8%. So literally, my loan stays the same. My loan amount, my fixed monthly payment stays the same. I believe I pay around 3,700 a month for everything for that property, right? And then the renter is paying me every month, so they're paying down my loan for me. But on top of that, that 3,700 a month, that money in 20, 30 years, 3,700 a month will not be as much worth as much in 20, 30 years due to inflation as it is today, right? And also my loan. I'm borrowing $600,000 on this loan, paying 2.7% interest. If inflation is going up by 8%, in a way, it's actually lowering the future value of my loan. And this is why real estate is very lucrative, right? It actually improves my position over time because, in 30 years, would a $500,000 loan be worth as much compared to a $500,000 loan today? It's not. So that's what's great about buying long-term fixed debt, right? And that's where a lot of real estate investors, a lot of sneakers are getting burned right now, is they bought real estate back in 2021. They overpaid for it because interest rates were, 3-4%. So you can afford to pay more to hit that debt service coverage ratio greater than 1.25. But they bought maybe a 1-year ARM, 3-year floatable, variable rate. And then now fast forward 2 years later, that 3% to 4%, it's now 8 to 9. At that point, they might be underwater and they're going to get rid of the property. So that's why for me, I always like to lock in long-term fixed rate, right? So my 26 unit, I locked in for 10 years at 4.2%. It's usually going to cost you a higher interest rate to lock in 10-year fixed, but you're guaranteed for 10 years to pay this payment. So I can ride out this high interest rate time. And when it lowers to, maybe 4 to 5, then I can do a cash out refinance, pull out all my equity, right? But I can wait. I can afford to wait. Whereas if I did it right now, it's going to be about 7.5 to 8%. Like it doesn't make sense to cash out refinance right now at 7.5 to 8% when I locked in 4% in a high inflationary market. So I love that piece of advice. Um, the next piece of advice is the right connection can skyrocket your career. And yeah, that's very powerful, right? Like you're just one connection away from changing your life significantly, right? So this is why I really became into YouTube and posting content. I used to be very behind the scenes. I just want to be that rich guy behind the scenes. No one knows about me, very low key. Yeah, I'm introverted by nature. Don't really share much about myself, in person. Did a little different on YouTube, but once I learned that, I'm not great at networking, I'd rather just put myself out there and have people come to me. That's easier for me that way. So that's why I got into creating content. I have my podcast because I can invite people who are more successful than me onto my podcast, even though I'm smaller, and they're willing to help teach me. But also by collaborating, we can cross fuse our audiences. So it kind of helps me grow, helps them grow, right? So that's why I love about creating social media. Maybe down the road, people actually bring me deals in Oklahoma because I always talk about, I'm buying an apartment complex in Oklahoma. Maybe people start bringing me deals, right? So that's why I'm really big on social media. It's a great way. It's free. Doesn't cost any money whatsoever right now. So I'm definitely taking advantage of this situation and doing that. The next one is finding your right spouse. So your biggest partner in life is going to be your spouse. And what's important is you must share the same values, right? So you must be aligned. Like for me, I'm very ambitious. I'm very growth oriented. I like to take some risk. Obviously I was more focused on the upside, not the downside as much, but now I've kind of flipped a little bit where I'm more focused on the downside than the upside because I want to keep what I built. Um, but just be on the same page as your spouse, like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna still want to grow, right? I want to grow my personal brand on social media. I want to grow my real estate portfolio. Maybe not as fast as 80 units in 8 months, but still gradually grow that. I still want to work a W-2 for now. I still want to eventually, if I retire early, I want to travel. I live very humbly. I don't overspend. I don't need nice things, right? Like I get just as much enjoyment eating a Michelin star restaurant as I do getting a street taco from a taco truck, right? And one's way cheaper than the other. So I kind of want someone who has that same mindset as me, where it's a very simple, very humble life. We don't get caught up in comparisons, so it's very key, right? Because if you choose the wrong spouse and you get a divorce, you're going to lose half your assets, and it can be devastating, right? So it's very key to find the right spouse. So overall, let me summarize all those key points again, and thank you for staying the whole time, for those of you that stayed. So once again, this is a summary of the book, Am I Being Too Subtle by Sam Zell, who was one of the largest real estate owners. He owned mobile home parks, apartment complexes, and commercial buildings, office buildings. So the first lesson was, if you love what you do, you're more likely to succeed. The second one is choose the right co-founder. The third one is grit is critical to be a successful entrepreneur. The fourth one is keep doing what works. The fifth one is always assess your downside. The sixth one is do yourself first, then delegate. The seventh one is have a strong vision of the future. The eighth one is when buying a company, focus on limiting waste versus growth. The ninth one was talking about real estate, specifically um, buying below replacement cost. And the second one was uh, making sure you lock in long-term fixed debt that's lower than inflation. The next one, the ninth one, I believe, or 10th one, is the right connection can skyrocket your career. And the last one is finding the right spouse. So overall, once again, hope you found value from this video. If you're interested in my Making Multifamily Money mentorship and course, click the link down below. I do have a 1-month trial. And I also link the book down below if you're interested in buying the book. I think it's a great read. You can probably read it over a weekend. Hope to see you in the next video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much.